Truth be told, Mike kind of mentioned it earlier. We've been a member of OCP for about 3 weeks, a paid member, that's up. We've been doing a whole bunch of stuff, thank you. We've been doing a whole bunch of stuff in the background though. Not a lot of the people here know about it. Not a lot of the telco carriers know about what we're doing because we're doing a lot of stuff with them. The community does not yet. So I'm going to take a little bit of time, and I've gotten actually a lot of questions on Ampere. How did Ampere come to be? A bunch of us from Intel, AMD, Qualcomm joined, so they're not sure. So I'll explain all that a little bit too. I'll take a couple of minutes on that and tell you guys what we're doing as well. But just remember, it was about 8 p.m. last night that I found out I was going to be doing this, so just take it easy on me, no hard questions. But we're super glad to be here though, either way. So let me just talk about who Ampere is, because again, I've gotten so many questions on this. It seems strange to see a startup start in October 17, yet deliver a product 11 months later. So there's a big long list behind that. So a company, AMCC, which rebranded itself as Applied Micro, they were the first ones to bring out a 64-bit ARM SoC about, almost 11 years ago, right? So that whole operation was sold, the whole business was sold to a company called MACOM. And MACOM was not interested in that portion of the business. They wanted the other business unit. So it quickly went on the sale block. Everybody was bidding for it. We actually thought about it at Qualcomm at the time of buying them. But the Carlyle Group, which is the world's largest private investment firm, they had some people on there consulting with them that thought it'd be really interesting for Carlyle to take a look at Applied Micro. One of the people in particular was Renee James. Renee James, for those you don't know her, she was the president of Intel for several years before she retired from Intel, and she was working with Carlyle. So the board of Carlyle got together and they said, hey, this sounds great. We'd love to invest in these guys. One condition, Renee, you have to come out of retirement and run the company. Who better to run a company to compete with Intel than the ex-president of Intel? So she agreed with the condition that she could hire 2 really key guys within Intel, an architecture lead and an engineering lead. They agreed. She's out of retirement. She's running the company. So that's how 11 months later we could have a part, is because that was actually the 3rd generation Applied Micro. X-Gene was the family name they called it, course. So we have a product out now shipping in volume. We call it eMag. I'll talk a little bit about eMag, but I'll tell you just it's not BS. It's a really great atmosphere, this company we're working with. We started with about 200 people almost 2 years ago. We're over 500 people now. We've been able to acquire some intact teams, which has really helped us grow our number and increase our scope and scale in other ways. Like we got an intact team from Qualcomm server division in Raleigh. We got a team in China, intact team in India. So it's really helped. We've ballooned massively, and it's a really good mix of talent, of a lot of lessons learned. And again, it really is a fun place to be, and we're doing some really exciting things, and I have utter confidence in what we're doing. And there's only 2 areas we're focusing on. The hyperscale guys, mainly the Super 8, we all know who they are, and then the other area is edge/telco. And I run biz dev just for the telco edge segment, and I have a counterpart that does the hyperscale stuff, okay? The existing part we have out now, Dong touched on this just a second ago. We call it eMag. It's 32 high-performance cores. We also have a 16-core version. We've got 8 channels DDR4, a bunch of PCIe lanes, 42 lanes. So the 32-core device running full out, everything on all the time. The TDP is 125. Actual use cases, most customer applications, it's much, much less than that, as I'm sure you know. The 16-core version has a 75-watt TDP. Again, absolute worst case. Roadmap, so I can't talk a lot. One big thing that's important to know about our company is we are very, very well funded from Carlyle and actually Arm and some other private places, but we have a fully funded, multi-generational roadmap. The next part is the only one we're really talking about publicly yet. We're calling it eMag 2. So it's on a 7-nanometer process node. We're going to continue to scale out with that, right? Offering much more high-performance cores, more I/O, more memory bandwidth. And it's so then we'll have the medium-sized part we have now scale into a much more compelling part, but a much bigger card, many more cores, and it's pretty exciting. It's already taped out. It's coming very soon. If you guys need to know any more about that, just holler at me. We can get NDA in place and tell. A lot of the end customers know way too much about it already. We've got a lot of exciting stuff going on with that, but that's where we're going. So the Edge platforms, we've got a lot of focus on Edge, the world I live in. These are some of the Edge platforms we have available today. We've got a standard 1U, 2U from Lenovo. We've got a more capable white box system called Raptor. We've got a Twins setup. We've got an open-19 brick. But really, the only one we really care about, Mike, is the one in green, of course. But no, really, that's what we're talking about. It's so hard to be back in that corner. Sorry. But again, we've just come out with this about 3 weeks ago, everything we're doing. But we've got everything available for all these platforms. But honestly, it's not a line. We see the most potential with the openEDGE related stuff. And in terms of openEDGE, Dong mentioned it too. So sampling in Q4, we're just a couple of weeks away. We actually have some here. We were so late to the game, we didn't get a lot of signage. We've got 2 of these sleds actually here. I'll talk about that in a second. I'd say just in general, Ampere is just totally committed. We know what we're up against, how we compete with x86, and we're totally committed to developing, importing software that can run on openEDGE hardware. Right? It's the easiest way for us to get in the game, the fewest barriers. I'm going to talk about a couple of examples going forward now, what we've done. First one, this has come up a lot. Thankfully, I was glad to hear it come up in these sessions. SEBA. So most people don't realize it. A few of the telco carriers realize it because it's in their labs running. But we have fully ported SEBA over to our architecture. We have source code demos available today. Again, the intent is to have that software stack run on openEDGE hardware. It's very exciting where we're going in that area. Another big area, and I know everybody else in this room sees the 5G in general as a big opportunity. It's a big focus, big opportunity for us. We're committed to that as well in a major way. Our current focus is on the vRAN space in the Acrano footprints that Dong mentioned as well. This is a perfect segue, by the way, your slides, everything. We have that ported, running right now on our stuff as well. We have a 3-node cluster set up, running on eMag, source code, demos available. There's not many people that know this, like I said, outside of the telco providers. That's the vRAN side. So DU, we see a lot of opportunities in the DU side as well. Dong mentioned some of these, where we have eMag and an FPGA together. And it sounds complicated, but it's really not. We basically put an FPGA card into one of our servers, and we have those development platforms available today as well. And you mentioned Broadcom. We're very involved with them and the FPGA guys as well. A little further out, the VEPC side, we see a lot of opportunity there. So obviously it needs more processing power as it gets closer to the core. It lines up perfectly with our roadmap where we have eMag now. eMag 2 is going to have much more capabilities, much more processing power. So it's lining up perfect. And the initial TCO estimates we've done with some of the operators are really compelling in that space. So that's the next area we're going to. And honestly, I see that being our first submission to the OCP community with our eMag 2 chip will be around that area. Okay. Another area, I probably should have titled this UCPE in the 12 hours I had to put these together. But another area we care about, it's not directly related to this, but it is interesting, is the UCPE space. So there is a OCP spec right now in the UCPE space, but it's only x86 based. We've done a ton of work already, and we're doing a ton more as we speak. We're partnering with every VNF vendor you can imagine, and our goal is to deliver a complete UCPE software stack in the intent to have that run ultimately on OCP-related hardware to make it easier for us to sell. In a nutshell, our value prop is really compelling. You've got these small, medium, large UCPE boxes now in these categories. Basically, the very limited things you can do in a small UCPE box, our chip enables you to do entirely more, multiple more VNFs, multiple more bandwidth coming in and out in the same general power and cost envelope as the mid-sized boxes. And we've got a lot of stuff going on that I can't talk too much about yet without an NDA, but we hope to contribute that to the OCP as well. This is Hawk. This is our motherboard that's used to enable so many of these platforms, everything related to Edge. We did this with the support of the OCP guys, with the intent that you could leverage this to numerous form factors, numerous applications, not just what we're talking about, but storage, telco, servers, everything, and it just happens to be a perfect fit for openEDGE. We can go on. I think we've kind of talked about these details, and we can close offline, and these are going to be available to the slides. Well, we talked about that platform enables all these Edge platforms. Again, so the openEDGE is on there, the Nokia airframe, the WeWinds chassis, all fits in very, very nicely. As I said, we were late signing up, late getting our signage printed out, but we did get some mentions. Bill mentioned us in the keynote. Mike mentioned us in his, although he left our name off the second slide. But I like to be optimistic about it. I told Mike, I think that actually gave us more publicity because he says, oh, no, I left off Ampere. And so he mentioned us a few more. That's the way I did it. But in fairness, really, we've only been official for a few weeks. We have 2 of these sleds here. Our partner WeWin really stepped up and made a little adapter board. That was our theory of Hawk, is make this very compatible and do little adapter cards to instantly fit into other form factors. So in just a matter of weeks, they made I took that from my phone last night. Sorry. This is the power board that slid in and it fit perfectly, and the WeWin guys made it in really just a handful of weeks. It was pretty amazing. But so we've got 2 of those. We've got one in the Experience Lab, and we've got one in the WeWin booth, but our name's just not up there. So I'm glad I'm telling you guys about it. Call to action. So I think it's clear, even though we're late, we're 100% committed to this space, committed to this community in general, committed to openness, as any good ARM SoC provider would be. We embrace multiple options and openness. I think you can see we've got a lot of stuff going on that people don't realize. Please bring any demo, POC opportunities to us. I know the REC and the Acrano stuff started from a particular carrier challenging us, saying, hey, your TCO looks pretty awesome. Prove it, basically. And we got access to their lab and ported it over in 5 days. I mean, that's the kind of things where the scrappy startup company does. And we do believe in the openEDGE enclosure, to say the least. And I personally think there's many applications beyond just telco and carrier that this thing can fit in. I mean, if there's one buzzword that's overused these days, it's Edge, and it's perfect for the Edge. So that's all I have. If anybody has any questions, we can do offline or want any more details, let me know. So thank you all. Sure.
I've got a question for you. Back on your Hawk reference slide.
This one?
And the power board.
Yep.
Do you also draw Ethernet on that power board back to the backplane for management, or is it still front panel management?
It's still front panel. Everything's front. Yeah,
okay.
For this one. Yep.
All right.
Unless, well, hey, you know as well.
You reserve the management, that port, but it's not to built in that PCB. So we reserve that port, right?
The Ethernet port. Yeah.
That one for the management.
Okay. All right.
See, those guys are good, I told you.
They are.
All right. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Anything else? Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.